In 2005, three men who had spent most of their working lives in Esperance decided they wanted to put something back into the community. Bob Jones, Dave Kyle and George Dutton set about building a new train shed for the Miniature Railway Society and, almost a decade later, are still thoroughly enjoying building their labour of love, a unique clock tower that has become an icon for the town.
Started in 2005 because it was a loco shed. The old loco shed was being vandalised, and Dave came up with the idea, instead of just building any old loco shed out of corrugated iron and tilted all garages and that sort of thing, why don't we put a little bit of pizzazz into it? His premise was that any major railway terminal had to have a clock, so it had to have a clock tower. So he said, well, while we're finishing off the loco shed, we'll just whack a tower up at the end, and it was all supposed to happen about with the speed he told it. And this was the original concept in 2004, 2005. It's just an expression of gratitude and that we just sort of toil along. We have a laugh a minute, we really enjoy the day, and at the end of the day we've done a little bit. We've whacked a couple of nails in, or put a couple of planks up, or done a casting or three.
We decided fairly on in the piece we wanted something permanent, because there's no built history at all in Esperance. It's all sort of 1960s, 70s kitschy buildings. It could be Hicksville anywhere architecturally, so we decided to make something a little bit special. And we decided to incorporate the full gamut of Western architectural ideas. There's only been three main schools of architecture in that time, namely the Greek and the Roman and the Renaissance, which incorporated the Gothic and all the rest of them. So we've tried to incorporate those main elements. We've got the Greek caryatids supporting the roof, we've got the round Roman arches, and we have sort of Renaissance stuff around the bottom with the flattened arch and a bit of decorative work, which is not on yet, but will be. So it's an attempt to incorporate the main elements of our architectural history. Okay, this is a caryatid. It's a form of human support for roofs, etc. And this is the oldest part of the architectural spectrum on the clock. These were used in about the 5th century BC in Athens for supporting roofs, and they have been used occasionally ever since. But they are just purely decorative, and it's just a means of supporting a roof on a building. We wanted something that would capable of lasting 400 or 500 years, which is what we've done, and it had to be in a style that wasn't going to date like a lot of modern buildings do. They're just fashion statements. So that's why we incorporate some of the better elements of the older designs. It's ongoing, yeah, it's nowhere near finished.
One of the main contributors is Len Marsh. He's an absolute incredible what he's done for the town, the sports teams and associations alike. He landscaped all this for us, and if we need him, we just phone him, and up he rocks, and it beats a shovel and a pickaxe, that's for sure. Other helpers have been Brad Green with his crane, Johnny Crawford from Esperance Sheet Metal, and Tim Crawford, who now runs Esperance Sheet Metal. John knocks up all the copper work for us. Rudy Vermees given us the use of his backyard for doing all the top three modules that we did, and that got us out of a really tricky situation. Those top three modules, from sort of 8 metres through to nearly 17 metres, were put up without the use of any scaffold, which was saved us a lot of worry, because at our age scaffolds aren't the best thing to be parading around on. But so the modules were manufactured in Rudy's yard, brought down on the back of a truck, and just lifted up on a crane and just plonked on a bit of wet cement, and it was almost as quick as that. It was just unbelievably how much it simplified the job. All the brickwork was done at ground level, and no scaffolding at all. Magellan gave us a big funding for the clock tower too. I forgot them. They gave us a good lot of funding in their rehab program, just the same as they gave us $40,000 to put up the two shade shelters. We needed shade shelters for the mums and the kids to, especially in the summertime, for the playground. 140 tonne of pavers.
How long did it take you to pave all that?
It was two projects. The half moon ones in the western side of the courtyard was the first lot, and that took us about 2 months, and we laid that ourselves. And our backs were just about buggered by the time we finished that, because that was only about 3 years ago. And then when we laid the square pavers here, which is almost the same area, it stretches out to the bridge over there, we got a bit wiser and shrewder, and we just got a young fella that had been slightly involved in what we've been doing, and he was as keen as mustard, and he just laid pavers as fast as we could throw them at him. Okay. The bells were another of Kylie's things on the agenda. We didn't know about them until we got to stage 2 on the clock tower, but everything fell into shape, just like it has from day one. We decided that we wanted a peal of bells up there. Dave got on to the manufacturers in England and Holland, 2 different sets of manufacturers. He got a quote and a design that would fit the bells. There's 15 bells in there, which is the second biggest peal of bells in West Australia. The only bigger peal is the one in the clock tower, which is the bells of St Clements. We decided to call them Pioneer Bells. We invited 15 families to sponsor bells, and in a week, and the whole thing involved $120,000. In a week, 14 of those families had bought bells. We reserved the biggest bell for people who were still dead keen on it, but didn't really want to sponsor a complete bell, so that was called the Community Bell. And we got donations for the Community Bell, and it was the most expensive one, so we could put plenty of subscriptions into that. Okay, this is the Community Bell. That's the biggest bell. $18,000 worth or whatever it was, and that's been donated by people who didn't want to specifically buy a bell, but they were very enthusiastic about the whole project, so they whacked in their $2,000 or their $200 and all the money in between that, and so that was the Community Bell. The rest of them are from pioneering families. Some of them who got here in the 1890s and through to ones that got here in the early 60s when the town was just expanding really rapidly from 1,000 population to 7,000 population when the farmers descended in the town, and all the development was done out in the bush. I'll just dust off the glass. You probably get a bit of a shot of the works there with a bit of luck.
Okay.
It's very simple. It's amazing how simple it is. This, and you'll see 2 things going clack clack. See?
Yeah.
Just behind it there. They're the brake. Each one of those is 60 degrees. But if you climb up there, you might get a little bit of a shot of the
Yeah. So what have you enjoyed most about this whole project?
Oh, it's just the give and take. It's the give and take. You know, everybody that's involved has a good sense of humour. Right at the start, the people that didn't quite know what was going on nicknamed us grumpy mob of bees. You know, so we got the nickname Grumpy 1, Grumpy 2, and Grumpy 3, and we were just having a laugh a minute, and we all get a really good set of wages. We get a cup of coffee and some beautiful scones and bickies from Jane. Jane Kyle, she's done smoko every day for the last 9 years or whatever it is, and been a tremendous support.
So here we are at the morning coffee session.
Morning coffee break, traditional coffee break that is sole wages we get. It's well worth coming for, because on top of coffee we get scones, we get bickies, Anzac biscuits, the best Anzac biscuits in Esperance, and we get hot cross buns. What else do we get, Dave?
Stop playing.
We have a real good
you get a lot of hot tongue and cold cheek as well.
It's a full-on committee meeting, and we decide just how much we've got to repair from the mistakes we made before smoking.
The genesis of the clock started here. Where all the ideas are thrashed out, and all the arguments are had, and all the disagreements. But after 10 years, we're still speaking to each other.
We're still slinging off at each other. And that's what it's all about. It's just.
It's a fun thing.
A fun thing, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. We finished one project, and 3 more eventuate. Is he allowed to have a scone?
Oh, I'll go grab a scone. All right.
It is an organic project. It grows.
One of the classic summaries of it was the clockmakers from England, from Nottingham. They couldn't believe what we were doing. They're saying, what's a little village like Esperance doing, putting up a 4-face clock tower with a mechanical clock in it, with a population of about 10 or 12,000 people? He said, it's the last one that went up in the UK is about 65 years ago. That's mechanical clock, not Japanese 240 volt ones, and the second youngest clock in the UK 4-face is pre-Second World War, and goodness knows when the last 4-face clock, mechanical clock, went up in Australia. The whole clock is designed here by Dave. He's worked out the design. Then we mix the bronze that we specifically need, whether it's for the cogs, it has to have a bit more lead in it to lubricate it and that sort of thing, or a bit more zinc in it. We combine the alloys there to get what we want. So once everything's been cast, Dave gets on the lathe and cuts and polishes the cogs or the locking pins or whatever, you know, and then in next to no time we've got a clock that it's a pendulum clock. It's fully adjustable to within about a second a week, with penny weights on it, the same as Big Ben. If you wanted to go a bit faster, whack a penny weight on there. If you want to slow it down, it's that sort of thing. It works on a lead weight that comes down on the inside of the tower and has to be wound up twice a week, and it is very, very accurate. The clock faces and the carry-outers complete the original program, but since then a few items have been added. There's going to be an automaton, which is a little bit like the London Court clock faces, where on the hour 2 knights come charging out and they glare at each other, and then when the clock finishes charging, they go back into the tower.
How hard has it been to actually make all the pieces for the clocks?
Oh, it's not hard. It's just you need patience. That's all. Plenty time. And Bob and I had plenty time, because when we retired, we, as I say, we were looking for something to do, and we're both migrants and we'd enjoyed our time in Esperance. And we thought, well, we'd better put a little bit back, and this has been our way of doing it. It's been a pleasure. It's not been work.
It's been labour of love for the
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it still is.
Still is. Or we wouldn't be doing it.